Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am Tamara Johnson Sheely. Good morning, Facebook family. Woo, we have been having technical difficulties all mornings, but good morning, good morning, good morning. I am Tamara Johnson Sheely, activist, advocate, entrepreneur. I am live here on Facebook. I am live on YouTube. I am live on Blog Talk Radio. So good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's see. The call-in number is on the screen. I've had a lot of chatter around me, around Withhold the Vote. I introduced it live on last week, Friday. So good morning. I see people are starting to chime in. My apologies. The technical difficulties this morning, y'all would not have believed it. So we have some great guests. I actually have some people that are going to be joining me this morning. So stay tuned for that as you guys start to chime in. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. We're live here on Facebook. We are live on Blog Talk Radio. We are live on YouTube. So good morning, good morning. I see you guys are starting to chime in. The call-in number, guys, is on the screen. Is 929-477-3442. Again, 929-477-3442. I will be taking calls. Let's see who is going to join us this morning. I'll be taking calls in just a little bit. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, I am going to talk pretty candidly this morning. There's a lot of chitter chatter. There was a lot of chatter around me in regards to Withhold the Vote. Again, for those of you who aren't, who are following me and you're new to the chatter, I was a candidate for the Georgia State Senate right here locally, Georgia State Senate District 40. District 40 is predominantly North DeKalb County, a little bit of Gwinnett over in Peachtree Corners. It is Sandy Springs up in Fulton County. And I ran 3 times, ran in 2014, garnering 37%. Actually had a primary in 2014, so I understand the competition and understand what it means to have a primary. So I had a primary in 2014 and appreciated the primary. It gave me, it sharpened me, I would say. Won my primary in 2014. Ran again in 2016 as a candidate against the incumbent Senator Fran Miller. Got 43.8% the second time around. Ran again 2018, and did have a primary. And I have spoken very candidly, very honestly about my race. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It was what it was. And it was a race. I was a Black candidate running in a predominantly white district. And after doing so much work for so many years and working to galvanize and get the support I needed in that district, it became something very different this time around. And I've never sugarcoated it, and I'm not going to. So I've had a lot of chatter around me because last week I introduced Withhold the Vote. I didn't say a whole lot about it. I just said enough to let you know that this was something that I will be working on the back end. And this will be something that, and I think because a lot of you don't really know me, I think I need to kind of bring you up to speed on who I am politically when it comes to the beauty and barber industry. I'm an advocate for my industry. I actually was a nail tech for almost 20 years, owned my own salon for 10. Small business owner for a lot of years, and understand my industry and became very politically aware. And that's literally where I got my start with politics. I started watching my industry politically. I started watching the world around me, and I became much more aware because of what was happening to me personally in my industry. So we started an organization called Politics, Beauty, and Barber, and the Concerned Beauty and Barber Professionals, where we address health, safety, and sanitation issues that affect the industry, keeping clients safe and keeping professionals safe. So we started that initiative, but we also started the political piece where we started to watch policy that was affecting our industry. So that is where my fight came from, because it was a personal attack. When you started attacking my industry, you started attacking me as a beauty and barber, as a beauty professional. I felt like I was under attack, which I was, my whole industry was. So with our efforts, we addressed policy, and we were specific to the issues that affected our industry. that affected beauty and barber professionals. So I held Democrats and Republicans equally accountable to the issues that affected my industry. So for me now to talk about issues that affect me, affect me as an African American or the Latino community, the Asian community, the Indian community, it's an easy transition. It's a no-brainer because I understand that, you know, we have to, when it comes to policy, it's all about the issues that affect the people. And it's not about the politics. It's not about the party. I am a Democrat in my heart, but not all Democrats are good and not all Republicans are bad. So I got beyond party politics, particularly with my industry, because as an industry, we have Democrats and Republicans. And I wanted my industry to understand that it was about the policy that affected us as an industry. And what I want with Withhold the Vote is for people of color to understand that it's about the policy that affects us as a community of people, not about party politics. It's about the issues that affect us collectively. So Withhold the Vote, it's a name because there's so many people that are sitting on the sidelines. You know, when we talk about the electorate, half of the electorate is sitting on the sideline watching those of us that are politically engaged just kind of duke it out and, you know, let the chips fall where they may. So much opportunity in engaging the communities around us. I'm going to let you guys call in just a few minutes. So much opportunity in engaging the communities around us, particularly communities of color. So I've had so much chatter around me that I needed to definitely talk about what Withhold the Vote is, because this is still under, we're still kind of building it. I'm still trying to get the right people around me to help facilitate this. Withhold the Vote is not about telling people not to vote. That's not what it's about. It's about harnessing the political power of people who don't vote and validating that silence, because that silence is power too. And we have to be mindful that there's a whole lot of people that are sitting on the sidelines that we have to engage politically. And Democrats, I'm gonna tell you, some of the stuff that you guys have been throwing at me this past week is ugly. And we're supposed to be this big tent party, the party of all people. It was a big mess this week. And I watched these so-called politicos and these Democrats that are, you know, been in the trenches for a long time. It's ugly. I see why young people don't want to be around Democrats. I see why young people are disengaged, or, you know, or people are, you know, not wanting to be a part of politics. This was really ugly. And I think I've shown you guys who I am politically. I know you see my heart. So to watch the comments, it was ugly. And I want that to sink in, because what this is about harnessing the political power of people of color that are sitting on the sidelines, that feel left out of this process, and validating their silence, because that is power too. And we want to be inclusive. So when these people we shouldn't shame them or guilt them into voting. We should encourage them. We should have conversations with them that specifically address their needs and their concerns. Not make people feel bad, because yes, I know that people died for me to have this right to vote. But now people have to feel like they're a part of this process. So shaming people and guilting people into voting, Democrats, that crap has not worked yet. So we need a different approach. And the approach that you guys have taken this past week with me not even understanding this, it was ugly. And you want people to be a part of this? Where's the leadership? Because true leaders don't treat the constituents or people that need to follow them the way that you guys treated me this past week. But I forgive you, because that's who I am. And a lot of you, I didn't grace you with a comment, because it was why? Because didn't make sense to me to even talk back to some of you, because it was just an attack. It would have been an argument, and I wasn't going to argue with you. I refuse to argue with you. So one thing about me is that I'm going to say it to your face, and we're going to have a conversation about it. I'm not going to get behind my computer and write an attack. I don't do that. I don't, and you won't ever see me do that. But I will get on Facebook Live, and I will invite you to have a dialogue with me in front of everybody, the same way I invited Sally Harrell to have a dialogue about the issues, communities of color, the election, the campaign. She doesn't want to have a dialogue. She wants to circumvent me and go out and get these votes as if Democrats can win without communities of color. You cannot. We've carried this party for a long time. We are the base of this party. Latinos, African Americans, Indians, Asians, we're the base of this party. The white vote is split. Let's be honest about where we are politically, Democrats. So a lot of you were like I said, you know, we have to validate the silence of people that aren't voting and have honest, engaging dialogue to bring them into the fold. Not attack them or guilt them or make them feel shameful about not voting. This is a party that needs we got a heart condition. I know Reverend Barber talks about the heart. We have a heart condition in this party, and a lot of it is race related, and we have to get beyond it. A lot of the communities of color and people of color do a lot of work in this party, and then on the backside, we'll have white people that come on the forefront as if they've done the work, and we're kind of getting thrown to the back. Well, we are thrown to the back, and then these white faces are on the front. We have to get beyond that. People that do the work need the credit for doing the work. So this conversation this morning may get a little touchy. If you're sensitive, you might want to go ahead and log off right now. I do expect everybody to be respectful. I will put the call-in number up on the screen in just a few minutes. But I actually have some guests that are going to join me this morning. I am super excited. I have a candidate. And I didn't bring any candidates in from Georgia just yet, and I will. Just stay tuned. These broadcasts are going to get quite interesting. But I wanted to reach out because as a candidate of color, we have a different set of issues when we run. You know, the things are a little different for us when we run as candidates of color. So I do have a guest out from Texas. Jennifer Cantu is a candidate for House District 85, a woman of color, a woman of integrity. And I wanted her to talk about her experience as a candidate of color and all the things that she'd like to do to see implemented that affect communities of color. And we also have Ms. Nicole Buffon, who is with Georgia Votes for Bud. She's going to join us later on because we minorities have to have, and then this is a question I'm going to have for her. Why do we have to have our own lane with issues that affect all of us? And I want her to really speak to that. So this conversation is going to get real interesting this morning. I'm going to bring Jennifer in. Let's bring her into the broadcast and let's have a conversation. And I will put the call-in number in just a few minutes. Hi, good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you? I just had to get my little spill in because we have
with an hour of technical difficulties. I say we're great.
Yeah, right. So what happened? We were supposed to chime in right at the top of the hour, but we had some technical difficulties this morning. But Jennifer, we made it. God is good. Welcome to the broadcast.
Thank you for having me here. So excited.
Awesome. We'll tell everybody who you are. You are a candidate for House District 85 in Texas. Tell us who you are and introduce yourself. We have a pretty engaging audience here. We got a lot of people chiming in. So good morning, everybody. And thank you for joining me, Jennifer.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me here. My name is Dr. Jennifer Cantu, and I am the nominee for House District 85. It includes 3 counties, Fort Bend County, Wharton, and Jackson County. In general, it's about 150 miles. It was created when they thought 2 other districts would become Democrat. So my district got created. And since it's been created, it has been held by a Republican seat. But as we've been saying, the minority are the majority. And I didn't wake up one day to say I wanted to be a politician, but I've noticed what's happened. School districts are being gerrymandered. Public education cannot be our greatest equalizer if it's not fair across the board. Lastly, as a physician and in early intervention, I got tired of hearing the word affordable healthcare. Affordable healthcare is useless if we don't have access to the affordable healthcare. You could charge somebody $5, but if the closest specialist is an hour drive, then you didn't really do your job. Mm-hmm. We need to make sure we're bringing that affordable and accessible healthcare. Again, as Texas, our rural development, we've forgotten about it. Our labor and a lot of the money that comes into our state is done in the back of our farmers. Yet when we prioritize what they need, they seem to go to the bottom of the list, the same way any individual with any intellectual disability or infants and toddlers. And as an outreach, as a physician, seeing this for 6 years, I decided instead of getting mad, do something. And I decided to run for office. And it's been a roller coaster because, like you said, there's definitely been difficulties. There's been attacks. And I expected a lot of the attacks to come from the Republican Party. Unfortunately, they weren't. They went from the actual Democratic Party themselves, calling people to tell them, don't support Jennifer Cantu. Don't talk to her. So it's been something to, you have walls and you have battles, which I think every candidate expects it because we are aware of it. I think I was naive to think that I wouldn't get it from my own party, which unfortunately that has been the case. But that's okay.
Stay right there with that point. Stay right there with that point because, party politics is a strange beast. And I don't think that people understand how hard it is, first of all, to run. And thank you, Jennifer, for putting your hat in the race and saying, okay, I am going to run in my district. And to have to fight the Republicans is one thing. But when you have to fight the Democrats, that's hard. That's the most disheartening part of it. That's the part I think that hurts the worst because I had the same thing happen to me where people were told not to support me, where people were told not to help me. And I know what that feels like. So how, as a candidate of color, how have you been able to kind of get beyond it?
I've done what I knew. I knew as a Latina, candidates were not approaching me like previous candidates. And I knew if I felt disengaged and I myself as an individual didn't want to participate in the political process, then more than likely a majority, a group of people feel the exact same way. So I decided to go and talk to every individual and not everybody in my community, but I did a lot of block walking. I didn't have the funds as most candidates, but I had a great volunteers, amazing 2 sets of tennis shoes, and went door to door. And when it came to it, I was able to increase that vote by 300% of the minority community. So I understand when you say withholding the vote, it's not that they're withholding the vote, but they haven't found somebody that forces them to want to come out and vote. And I understand somebody that wants to withhold the vote. I want to earn their vote, not just you're a D, I expect your vote. That's not good enough. And it hasn't been good enough so far. That's not enough. So I completely applaud you for saying that because I know it takes a lot for you to say withhold the vote because it was going to be an attack that they're going to try to attack you. But as a candidate, I get it. You're making me work. And I should work, not just for one person, but for everybody. Because we need, it's not if you're red or if you're blue. We're all under one flag, red, white, and blue. And it's great when we work together.
Exactly. And that's what it's about. So withhold the vote is validating the silence. And I really want you guys to hear that, those of you that have attacked me all week, is validating the silence of those that are sitting on the sidelines. We hear your silence. That silence is deafening. I hear your silence. I see your pain and you feel so left out of this process. I hear you. So this page and this agenda is about grabbing those people and bringing them in. And this, don't bring them into the mess of the Democratic Party and don't bring them into this mess and shaming them and making them feel guilty for not doing anything, for not voting and not being a part of this. Encourage them, educate them, and hear them. The L in legislator, Jennifer, listen and learn. Listen, legislators, listen. And I'm going to
absolutely correct.
That's right. We have to hold Democrats accountable the same way we do Republicans. You want, like you said, say it again, Jennifer, you want to earn that vote.
Yeah, and I will believe any old blue just won't do, just because they have a D behind their name. I'm sorry, any old blue just won't do.
Thank you. See, I didn't even have to say that. I didn't say it. Any old dude just won't do. And just because we have a D is behind that name does not mean that Democrat has earned our support and earned our vote. You're going to work for this Democrats. And there's issues that affect communities of color. And Jennifer, you are, you've gotten it from people that don't think you are, you're a candidate. So obviously you're a citizen. So
yes, I am the only Latina on the ballot. So, which is, I'm excited, but it's also not something good, especially when the minorities are the majority. I should not be the only Latina on the Fort Bend ballot. That should not be the case. But of course, as being the only Latina, I expected to be attacked. Don't get me wrong. I expected it. But it's amazing how the questions that I have been asked have not been by Republicans. It's been Democrats asking me, are you a U.S. citizen?
Democrats are asking you, are you a U.S. citizen?
Are you a U.S. citizen? And I just choose not to answer that question, because if you were to look at the guidelines to be running for office, that's one of the prerequisites. My husband is not a U.S. citizen. We've been battling immigration since 2012. It's an ongoing battle, but we're doing it right. So, and they've even gone to the point of saying, well, are your kids U.S. citizens? So, of course, as a mom, that's going to, you want to attack, but I also know I'm a candidate, so I need to let their ignorance be and just move on.
And like you said, these aren't Democrats that are, these aren't Republicans that are asking these questions. These are Democrats. These are the people that are on the same team with you that are questioning you as your citizenship.
Yes.
So what I want people to take from your broadcast is, I want them to see your heart. I want them to see that we have great people that don't look like, what they think we should look like on the ballot, that really do have a heart to serve. But I also want them to understand that we have struggles. And somebody just said that, look, I have a comment, I'm gonna put it up on the screen. She said, I love the diverse women of color are bringing their struggles. We are struggling as candidates of color inside of the Democratic Party. We are struggling.
Yes, it's an ongoing struggle.
Yes.
Although I will say we do have a chairwoman who is a person of color. Her name is Cynthia Ginyard. She is our Fort Bend County chairwoman and amazing, but also having her struggles of her own, that I feel that some of the things she can't do, it's not because she cannot do. And unfortunately, other people, and I will say predominantly older white folks, will make her look bad. And I don't feel that she's bad. It's just that right now she has all these people attacking her that it's really hard for even her to do her job. But she's doing everything she can do. And as a new candidate, I'm very appreciative, because I know what I'm struggling with. I could just imagine the struggle she's having when she's got 30 candidates on the ballot, which, let it be known, has never been the case in Fort Bend. So if that's not a demonstration of her leadership, I don't know what is.
Yeah. So we have what I want my Democratic family to understand, our Democratic Party to understand, is that we have to there's an elephant in the room, and people of color are struggling inside of the Democratic Party. We're struggling. We're fighting these battles that we shouldn't. You see who's doing the work. And it's not about the color of their skin or their, whether they're from the US or like Mexico, whatever. It's about who we are as people. And if this is the big tent party, it can't be a big mess. It has to be a party that really is inclusive and intentional about bringing people in that don't look and sound and act like what the party thinks we should. We have work to do, and we're not going to not call it out. There's great candidates up and down the ballots across this nation that aren't white. They're Black and they're brown, they're Latino, they're Asian, they're African American, they're Indian. We have this rainbow of beautiful people on the ballot, and the party is choosing to remain
silent.
Yeah.
The candidates are great. I will say, as a candidate and as a person of color, our slate of candidates is very diverse. And we know the mess that the party themselves are doing, that we've opted to work together. And we all work together as one, but we also have to make sure to avoid other things.
Okay, so here we go. Everybody's asking for the call-in number. I think you have some fans and some folks that want to talk to you. So let me get this. So if you see me with this little red phone, guys, we had some major technical difficulties this morning. So let's get that part working. And go ahead and tell us your website, Jennifer.
My website is www.cantu, my last name, CANTU, the number 4, TX for Texas, 85.com. I am on a skeleton. It's hard, when you're the newbie and you're the minority, it's hard to get people to want to donate to you, and I get it, but that's okay, because I'm going to make it work with whatever I do have. I'm not going to let money be the thing that decides me. I will say everything needs to be union printed. So anybody that wants to support from $5 to $20 to $100, I'm going to be excited. Because as I was telling you, my family and friends are not U.S. citizens. So by the law, they cannot donate to my campaign.
So guys, help her. And I'm going to put your website up again. I'm trying to get this call-in number to work. So if you see me with this little phone, guys, when I tell you that it's been crazy, but we're not going to not keep trying. So I'm going to put her website on the screen. It's www.cantu4tx85.com, correct?
Yes, and there's a little donate button. Click on it.
Let me put that on the screen. www.cantu4tx85.com. Help her. I know what it feels like not to have enough money, and every dollar and every dime counts. And every time somebody sent me whatever, $2, $3, $5, $20, $100, I was so appreciative, because I know what it feels like to run a truly grassroots campaign. And I'm gonna tell you that for me, the hardest part was raising the money, because that's not where my heart was. My heart is to serve the people. So for the candidates that have to get out there and knock on doors, and you're knocking on doors, you're trying to engage with your voters, you're trying to do all these other things. That's where your heart is. And the money part is like, you know what? If I have to knock on 50 more doors and not have the money, I'd rather knock on 50 more doors. But she needs the money and she needs support. So again, her website is on the screen. It's cantu4tx85.com. We are going to support candidates that support our communities, that support the issues beyond, the status quo, I guess. Jennifer, I'm excited for you, sweetheart. I really am.
It's good. They said this district was not winnable, but the new polls put it as a winnable, flippable district. So it's definitely doable.
Yeah.
Because like I said, the minority is a majority. 66% of our population is minority. But they haven't had a need to go out to vote. And my job is, I know they've withheld their vote, but I'm just not going to tell them to go vote. I need to earn it. I can't demand something and not show up for something.
That's right. And
everybody I know we vote with emotion, but I want that emotion because they feel that I am honest and real and here to work for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if it's not a vote that I have not earned, then I don't deserve it. And you have every right to withhold it. And I am okay with it, because that means I didn't work for it.
That's right. You totally get it. I
get it. I get why you're saying that. I get it.
Yes. And those that didn't get it, now I hope you can go back and try to get on board. And when you engage with people that are withholding their vote, do not shame them, do not guilt them. You have a conversation where you educate them and you encourage them.
Ask them. There's probably a reason.
That's right.
It's probably something so simple that they've probably felt that they've been used. And you know what? They probably have. We can't continue to starve our communities and then accuse them of being thieves.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
Yeah.
And that's that little cycle that we keep on doing and saying, oh, we didn't win because the black vote didn't come out. Or we didn't win because Latinos didn't vote. Well, we didn't win because, I'm sorry, we didn't do our job to go out there and get them to vote. Showing up for a picture is not you engaging. I'm sorry. That's right. I said it out loud because I know a lot of people do that. But engaging does not mean going Facebook and posting pictures with all the people you've met. That's not engagement.
Engaging is about having the hard conversations. Engaging is about not running from the conversation, but embracing the conversation and listening and learning and figuring out, how can I help this constituent? How can I turn this? What part or what role do I play in turning this whole thing around? Not running from the conversation, because that's what some candidates do. They run from the conversation. They don't want to have these conversations. And that is not engaging. And that is not going to bring people to the polls. And I would not vote for anybody that can't have a conversation around racism, race relations, and how to bring people. I want to hear from these people. We have to have these conversations.
You have to. And engagement is also standing up and saying, you know what? Apologizing. We were wrong.
Yeah.
Saying I'm sorry would go, and don't say I'm sorry because. Don't justify your sorry.
Yes.
Just say we failed. I admit we failed, but I'm here to learn.
That's right.
That would probably, it would go doors. I feel doors would open. But I think a lot of the communities and constituents and probably some of the people that are on your live feed are tired of hearing the I'm sorry, but, or justifying that behavior. There's no justification when it's wrong. It's wrong, and be quiet and move on.
That's right. Jennifer, this will not be the last time that I ask you to come out and talk on social media and talk on this Facebook Live broadcast. I appreciate you running. I am so glad that we have connected. Dr. Jennifer Cantu, guys. Dr. Jennifer Cantu. I appreciate you. I am glad to have you on this broadcast. I am going to do whatever I can to assist you with folks that I know out in Texas and those that I know here. Help Jennifer. Again, her website, I'll put it on the screen one more time before we let her go. It's Cantu4Texas85.com. Send her a few dollars, send her a lot of dollars. If you know anybody in Texas in that area that can help her. Because candidates of color have a very difficult time raising money, getting volunteers, getting support. So what didn't happen for me in my race to the extent that I wish it would have, I'm going to be a resource to making sure that it happens for other candidates. So I'm going to use my voice and I'm going to use my platform to be a resource to those candidates of color and any candidate that is out there that is addressing the issues of communities of color. I'm going to help to be a resource to you. And Withhold the Vote is not about telling people not to vote. It's about earning that vote and validating the silence of those that don't vote. So Jennifer, I want to say thank you. And are there any parting words before we bring Miss Nicole? I know she's sitting patiently in the lobby waiting to come in and have a conversation with the audience. Anything you want to leave us with? Twitter handle, Instagram?
Oh, my Twitter and Facebook is at Cantu4Texas85. It's the same as my Cantu4Texas85, the same for my website. That's my Twitter handle. That's my Facebook. That's Instagram. That's everything. Kept it the same. And thank you. Thank you for having this platform. I know it's hard because you were deeply attacked, but you know what? Who cares? We're going to move past this.
That's right. We have work to do. We have candidates that
we can't afford to be petty.
That's right. We have races and we have people to serve. So whatever I can do to help, I'm going to absolutely put my voice and using whatever platform I have. So Jennifer, I will definitely be inviting you back real soon because we want to hear how this campaign is going and making sure that we can be a support to you.
All righty. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Bye.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you. All right. We are going to bring somebody else into the fold here. Mrs. Nicole Fong, how are you? And good morning.
Good morning.
Are you, Nicole? You were sitting so patiently. We had the beautiful Miss Jennifer on. Stay with us, Jennifer. I am going to put that call-in number up. I'm having the worst, but I promise you, this is all technology, so it's not me. And we struggled this morning, didn't we, Nicole?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can see you. You're beautiful. Thank you
good.
this morning.
That on my end.
Yes.
Okay.
So Nicole is with an organization, Minorities for Marijuana.
Medical marijuana.
Say it again.
Georgia chapter president for Minorities for Medical Marijuana.
Yes, and I am glad to have her on because this is where we start to address the issues. Not only did we have a candidate on, now we're going to dive deeper into the issues that affect communities of color. And marijuana was something that I spoke very openly about, Nicole, very openly on my campaign because for so many reasons here in Georgia, it could be, medicinally, Nicole, it's a no-brainer. We understand that marijuana works. Period. The science has proven it. We're so beyond proving it where it's done.
Mm-hmm.
We could also create a brand new economy here in Georgia. We have enough farmland. We could do so much good. We're creating jobs. We could take that money and put it in education. Oh my goodness. I just saw all the possibilities of marijuana. In addition to the decriminalization and the criminal justice reform that will come along with that. People are trapped in the system. And I can tell you as a woman of color and people of color, we are trapped in the system behind these petty marijuana crimes and this legislation that is destroying our families. When we can have productive members of society, we're choosing to lock people up. So I was a huge advocate for marijuana reform here in Georgia. So to have met you along the way, I am excited. Tell people who you are and what you do.
Oh, well, thank you, Tamara. Thank you for having this platform. Thank you for inviting me on to speak today to your audience about something that I am so passionate about. I've only been about a year into this industry, so to speak, but it's advocacy work for me. It's about educating the public. I'm passionate about making sure that people are informed before they make a political decision or before they decide who would be the best candidate to lead us into the future in a state like Georgia. Like you said, the job opportunities, the medical opportunities. I'm a registered card-holding, THC card-holding citizen of Georgia because I use it to treat my own illness. But I'm only one of thousands. Since 2015, over 4,000 people have registered with the state to hold a THC card because they qualify under only 16 diseases that the law allows them to legally treat using cannabis oil. So I joined this fight because I realized I have a passion for it, but I also realized I'm not the only one fighting for safe access to use cannabis to treat my illness, as well as the decriminalization that happens within our communities, or making sure the criminalization that happens within our communities, making sure that people are aware of the enormous rates at which people of color are arrested for the misdemeanor of possession of marijuana. And so it's not a misdemeanor in the state, it's actually a felony. But my point is fighting for the rights of people to have a safer society. I don't think that police, and a lot of other police officials agree, should be arresting people and spending their time putting people in prison for possession of a plant. And so we're making sure that people are aware within our communities of which candidates support legislation that would allow us to move into a state where we did have statewide decriminalization, as well as safe access for patients to actually get their medicine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you know what, the big question, and I've asked you this, and I actually threw it out this morning because I want to understand, and I want the listening audience to understand, why is it that when marijuana would benefit all people equally, it would be a benefit to all people equally. Why is it that we have, as a community of color, why is it that we have to have our own lane and our own voice in this process? Why can't it just be a message that resonates with everybody? Why is there a chapter called, why is your organization, why is it Minorities for Marijuana? Like, what is that?
That's a great question. So Minorities for Medical Marijuana has only existed in 2 years. We just celebrated our 2-year anniversary. Roz McCarthy, the director of Minorities for Medical Marijuana, started it because obviously there was a need for it. This industry is federally not legal, but it exists within 29 states in the country right now. So that's more than half of the United States. And then 9 states are legally recreationally. So the industry is brand new in a sense. If you think about it, the timeline is kind of funny because California went legal with medical marijuana 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, in 1996, but they just went legal recreationally for adults. So it took 20 years for them to figure out how to move into that space legally, and it took Colorado only a few short years. So this industry is brand new in a sense that we are watching this industry grow, state by state, year by year. Something changes in the legislation that advances each state moving forward to first allowing people to use it medicinally. And so in that process, as the industry is growing and building, 90% of the industry is owned by white men so far. 96%. And so we recognize that fact about the industry, and also recognize how important it was that somebody needed to be lobbying and advocating for minorities in that space. And that includes everybody that is not a white man. So an organization like Minorities for Medical Marijuana, we accept everyone as a member. And that's including, white men as well, who realize or recognize the importance of inclusion and diversity in any industry. And that is why we exist. We exist when Florida went legal in 2016. Roz and Minorities for Medical Marijuana was instrumental in ensuring that the state came back retroactively, but came back and awarded 2 licenses to minority farmers in Florida last year. So those are the kind of things that an organization like Minorities for Medical Marijuana fights for at a legislative level, but also on a civil level. On a civil rights issue of criminalization. There are projects that Minorities for Medical Marijuana has founded that include Project Rebound, which is a project that will allow people to a program that would allow people to retroactively get their records removed if they live in a state where it's now legal. Help them to remove that felony off of their record so that they can move on with their lives. And so those are the kind of issues that we are tackling as an organization in different communities across the country. We have 17 different chapters right now established, and that's kind of what we focus on. But to answer the second part of your question of why it's so important that our communities understand why marijuana was made illegal in the first place, why it comes back to us, why it comes back to our communities, and why we should feel so passionately about wanting to get in an industry that has systematically criminalized us over the last 80 years. And it starts, and most people don't even know this, but it starts with the history, with understanding why marijuana was made illegal in the United States in the first place. So 80 years ago, there was a conglomerate, a conspiracy, so to speak, of white men who decided that they no longer wanted to allow this plant to be used by anyone in the country. And so the ringleader, so to speak, of this conspiracy was Harry Anslinger, who was at the time the head of the Federal Narcotics Bureau, which later became the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency. And so he was famous. Well, he was known for starting and running that bureau, but he was also famous in his timeline for helping to create the Marijuana Prohibition Act, which made marijuana illegal all over the country. And some of the language that he used alone helps you to realize where his frame of mind was, and why he created the propaganda movie Reefer Madness, which some of you might know of or have heard of. It was created by his organization, by the Federal Narcotics Bureau back then. But some of his famous quotes, and I quote, "There are 100,000 total marijuana smokers in the U.S." And this is him speaking in 1937. "There are 100,000 total marijuana smokers in the U.S., and most are Negroes, Hispanics, Filipinos, and entertainers. Their satanic music, jazz, and swing result from marijuana use. This marijuana causes white women to seek sexual relations with Negroes, entertainers, and any others." The next shocking quote is, "Reefer makes darkies think they're as good as white men," end quote. So those were the kind of statements that he was making to the Congress at the time in 1937 of the United States of America, that was so devastating to them to even think that this one plant could possibly make people do all these things. And it was enough evidence. He didn't have to have any scientific backing. It was just his word against the world at the time and against the race. It was enough to convince them to actually make the plant illegal. And after that, other countries followed. So what most people don't understand or even recognize, because that propaganda has been going on now the last 80 years, is that for thousands and thousands and thousands of years before that, marijuana was perfectly legal. It was no issue of whether or not it was legal. It was a plant that you knew that if you take it, it would act as medicine. And that's why it was in the 1936 pharmacopoeia in the United States, the what pharmacists use to treat, the medicines that they use to treat diseases and illnesses. You could walk into a pharmacy in 1936, 35 America and get cannabis oil to help treat labor pains and migraines and arthritis. Those are just a few examples. So understanding the history of how it became illegal and why it became illegal in this country, and that this propaganda has extended now for 80 years. Nixon had a chance to change it in 1969. And even though he was presented with accurate scientific information, so was Anslinger, but he chose to ignore it. Nixon did the same. In 1969, a group of scientists presented him with the information. A committee was formed, and they proved that all of the things that they were saying reefer could do, it did not do. It actually did the opposite. It helped to treat pain. It helped to manage hunger. It did what it actually does, and the scientists proved that. But despite the truth, he chose to label it a Schedule I drug and decided to start the war on drugs actually at that time. And marijuana was his biggest target.
Yeah.
So.
Let me put your website on the screen. So it's www.
M4MMunited.org. MMunited.org.
MM4 United.
MMunited.org. That's Minorities for Medical Marijuana United.org. Yes.
Okay, so it's on the screen, everybody. MM4united.org.
No, M4MM.
MM4 United.
Hold on.
Guys, I got it wrong. Let me delete that and let me do that again. Okay.
The number 4 MM United.org.
The number 4 MM
United.org. Yes. Yes. That is the nonprofit's website, the Minorities for Medical Marijuana. I also have my own organization that I operate here in Georgia, and that's Cannabis Connection World. And I do a podcast. Really can go more into depth about what the history is and where we stand right now in the state of Georgia, talking about the law, what diseases are on this list that allows you to actually possess a THC card or register to get one.
Yeah.
Now all that information can be found at cannabisconnectionworld.com.
Awesome. And I'm going to put the number up on the screen. It's 929-477-3442. We actually have a couple callers on the line. I'm going to bring Jennifer back to broadcast because I want to open up the floor, guys. You can ask me a question. You can ask Nicole a question. You can ask Jennifer a question. So I'm going to bring all three of us back to the screen. so that if you have any questions for any of us, that we can actually answer it. Jennifer, I'm bringing you back. Let's see. There she is. Again, our call-in number is 929-477-3442. 929-477-3442. Jennifer, your screen's kind of coming in, coming out. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but she's still with us, everybody.
Sorry.
We can hear her, we just can't see her. So we do have a caller. It starts with 281. Caller, I'm going to bring you in. Let's see if I can do this without any technical difficulties. Caller, are you there? 281.
Good morning, it's Sarah the Merchant. I am here.
Good morning, Sarah. How are you?
I am doing fantastic and very excited for this Facebook show. Yeah, I think it's long overdue. I think as candidates such as myself, especially with it being my second time running, being out there and hearing this, it feels like I'm not alone. This is a systematic problem, and I'm happy to hear that it is being addressed and a dialogue is going in regards to what's happening in communities of color in politics.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you for chiming in, and congratulations on your second run. Being a candidate of color is difficult. It's difficult. Like I said, not only do we have to fight Republicans, and that's a different fight, but then when we have to fight our own party, it becomes a totally different battle. So thank you, Sarah, for staying in the fight and fighting a good fight with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I know the question I have for you, Tamara, is I know that you run 3 times. Is this you coming up with this wonderful idea? Is this because the first time you ran, you kind of saw it, but you were kind of in disbelief and you kind of ignored it, and now it's just to a point where you just can't ignore it anymore? So what led up to this moment for you to say, hey, I'm going to go further, I'm going to take a stance and be a voice for more people?
Yes, so thank you, Sarah, for that question. That's a great question. And you know what? I never, I'm gonna mute you, Sarah. But I, in 2014 when I ran, as a new candidate, you don't know. You're kind of green. You don't know. You just kind of you're out there and you're figuring it out. And I figured out some things in 2014. Saw some things again in 2016. But then once we elected 45 in office, it was my face. It was blatant. It was like I didn't really I knew it was something there, but when 45 came to office, it was in my face, and I couldn't ignore it. So when my race this race that I ran this time around, my primary, when it was obvious that it was a race, and the reason why she ran against me was racial. I couldn't ignore it, and I couldn't call a thing, as Ayanna Van Zant would say. I couldn't call that thing out. So people are like, "Did you do this only because No, this was who I was politically, and this is why people, like I said, didn't know me. I've been fighting for my industry politically for a very long time, and my industry, we've won battles fighting Democrats and Republicans for my industry. So what you see is who I am. So thank you, Sarah, for that question. We have to tell the truth about what's happening inside the Democratic Party, particularly with candidates of color. We have to tell the truth, and I'm committed to telling the truth, and I'm committed to helping those candidates, whoever they are, get elected if they are addressing the issues that are affecting communities of color. Period. So we do have another caller on the line. Let's see, caller. Are you there, caller? It's a 404 number.
Hello?
Hello? 74. Yeah, caller, are you there? Welcome. You're live on the broadcast.
I was calling back to respond in large part to what you were discussing at the beginning of the talk today, and the reaction to your post last week on withhold the vote. As you know, I was involved in that discussion, and what I took away from it was a lot of people just did not understand American political system, irrespective of party color. You were talking about the need to be it never entered their mind that you were talking about. So education, political education, across the spectrum, irrespective of party, is something that we engage in so people understand that we as people of color are aware of a history. We've been in this country longer than the rest of the population. And I'm talking about people of color broadly. Hispanics are largely Native Americans. They've been here. The United States was largely Mexico. Half of the country was Mexico. Manifest destiny stole it away. We know the American narrative. Our narrative is not the same as that of European immigrants. It's not to invalidate the American. It's different. They need to listen to us. And I'm going to sit there if you guys comment because we have a multi-ethnic panel, and I'd like you to speak to that because that was my experience. I'm arguing a little bit, but I developed one good relationship out of it. We'll continue to talk. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for chiming in. I'm gonna jump in since we're gonna let you jump in, Jennifer, with that one. Her screen keeps, but we can see you keep coming in and coming out. Can you hear?
I could hear you, but I wasn't able to hear him.
Okay. So he talked about the fact that so many candidates, the withhold the vote was totally misunderstood, and people didn't think beyond reading the literal sense of just reading the words withhold the vote. They didn't really understand that it was a strategy and it was a way of thinking that we needed to address for those that are sitting on the sidelines, not participating in this political process. It's an opportunity for those people to be heard. And he spoke to the fact that, you know, we are a community of color. This nation is, like he said, was Mexico. You know, this was your land.
It sure was.
This was your land, right?
Yes, after a poker and, you know, on a poker game, we lost it. But, you know, yeah, that's pretty much how we lost it. Mm-hmm.
This was your land. So he was basically saying that we need to listen to communities of color and people of color. You know, people need to listen to us, and we need to be intentional about engaging them. Nicole, you want to jump in right there?
Well, when we're talking about an issue-based campaign, it's important to talk about issues that concern us. And in Georgia right now, we're faced with that issue. And when it comes to cannabis, we, as a campaign or as an issue-based campaign, I don't want to support any necessarily party or candidate. But what I will support is whether or not you're willing to even talk about where you see cannabis reform going in this state, whether or not you're willing to provide safe access for the thousands of patients that are here in Georgia that are faced daily with finding their medicine and having to commit a crime in order to do so. How are you going to put a stop to that? And how are you going to address the issue that the reason South Fulton and the reason that Atlanta created an ordinance that no longer permits police to arrest you in their municipalities for possession of less than an ounce of marijuana? You will get a ticket or a fine, and not a felony or an arrest, is because they recognize what the statistics show. And the facts are that 90% of arrests made in those areas are men, Black men, men of color. And they recognize that is the majority of those arrests men of color. And the community recognizes it as an issue. And so on a local level, those city councils change the law in their district. And that's what we're talking about. We have to address the issue at hand. Georgia has a private prison system, which means everybody, literally body that goes into their system is labor. It's free labor. It's cheap labor. And so they use it accord. Yeah. And so we have to recognize that since they're privately owned, everybody that goes in is a profit for them, for that prison. And so we have to recognize that locking people of color up for a nonviolent crime for possession of this plant is a waste of taxpayers' money. It's a waste of police time when they can be fighting real crime. And if you're not willing to even address those issues and why it affects community of color more than any other community, then why should I elect you to be leader of this state?
That
Absolutely.
is so true. I mean, I want to add to that you nailed it. I don't think we need, yes, I want everyone's support, but I don't want their support because they like me, but I want their support because I'm representing them, representing and standing up for their platform. There's three things I strongly feel should never be privatized: public education, health, and prisons. Because you know what? That is I'm gonna say it out loud, and it's probably gonna bite me in the butt. But that is a form of communism, and communism in theory works great. But when you put it to practice, there's always one selfish dictator getting all the money.
Mm-hmm.
And we cannot continue to produce those pipelines for prison. We cannot, at least in our state, for every individual that is in prison per year, I don't know the exact numbers, but they're about $20,000 that we spent on a person in prison, when a person in public education is it's about $8,000. Yet we can't say we support public education at the expense of
Prison.
increasing it. And the thing is that these prisons, the majority of the people there are there because, one, they couldn't afford
To get out.
to pay for their tickets, or some minute thing that was clearly profiled and placed to attack them. So I will continue to say we continue to starve our communities, whether it's starve them from health, starve them from education, starve them from access, and then we want to accuse them of thieves when we've made that platform for them. I'm sorry, I didn't want to jump, but I just had to.
Yes, you did. You know what? You're speaking truth to power, and that's what we expect of our elected officials. So you are right on it. Don't sugarcoat it. Call it out. You're speaking truth to power, and that's what we have to do, and that's what communities of color expect. People are tired of people, dancing around the issues and not talking about it specifically. Right, Nicole? You shaking your head. You right? You
Because you ask these questions to these politicians, and even before the primaries, before Stacey Abrams won the actual primary, she was hesitant to really say what she would be willing to do if she won and became governor in this industry or on this platform, speaking to this specific issue, because she did not want to marginalize herself or exclude any voters that might vote for her. Because why is an issue that is mainly based in empathy. Like, we're talking about patients. We're talking about people who have terminal illnesses that need to use the plant to help treat their terminal illnesses. It's written into the law. Like, you have to have stage 4 cancer in order to use this cannabis oil. That's what.
And they're not dying because
So you're talking about people who are dying, and you don't want to give them safe access to the plant that will help them to not die so painfully. That's literally.
And why do they die? Here's the question: why do they die? Because they can't eat, and if they don't eat, they're immunocompromised and they're not healthy. So they need plants to give them hunger to eat.
You've got children with epileptic disorders that might have 70 to 90 seizures a day, that are on the verge of having a stroke because their physical body cannot keep up with the
course, you're right.
that they are having. And if all of the pharmaceuticals that they have been prescribed don't work as well as this 3 drops of oil from a plant, but you refuse to allow them access to the oil, they need to stick with what's legal, the stuff that's killing them. So my concern is, when you're looking at an issue and you look at it from that point of view, instead of taking on the rage or the propaganda of reefer madness, it makes people go crazy. It makes people want to kill each other or have sex with another race. That's the kind of rhetoric that we have to make sure is not part of this conversation, and understand that we're talking about caring for other people, their health and wellness, and we're talking about their civil rights, keeping them out of prison with rapists and murderers because they had a plant in their possession. That I just want to.
I know. I love.
You're right.
You know, this is the kind of dialogue I love. I love it when it gets hot and heavy because when you're telling the truth, it spews out of you. You can't even hold it in. It's like
No.
because it's
Family
true.
shouldn't leave.
Yeah.
We have families in Texas that leave a state because
Yeah.
their kid has autism,
Oh,
their
yeah.
kid is epileptic, their kid has cerebral palsy,
We did
all
that.
because they don't want to give them access to what they need to live. We're not asking. I'm a physician. I know how the brain works. And those neuroreceptors, it's proven. But guess
CB1,
what? It's
CB2.
greed because people cannot make money off it.
That's right.
Because you know, if that drop was $500 a drop, they'd be selling it in every Walgreens, CVS, everywhere.
They have it. They have Canatol. They have Marinol. They have Dronabinol. They have
Mhm.
synthetic forms of cannabis that pharmaceutical companies made, and doctors are prescribing to patients right now
Of course.
in the hundreds and thousands of. And so they recognize the value of what this plant can actually do, so much to the point that they made a synthetic version of it. The
Of course.
government
At the end of the day, it's
and
about the back
pharmaceutical
pockets.
companies made a
We want to make, you want to get something across, tell them they're going to make money.
Yeah, and
It'll move up the calendar.
that's right. And that's what, you know, Tamara addressed when we started this conversation about just the agricultural potential of allowing hemp or cannabis to grow here in the state would mean tremendous profits. It would mean jobs. It would mean opportunities.
Yes.
And so
Many
and
opportunities.
hemp is one of the few plants on the planet that actually gives back to the earth. And so it
And could
doesn't.
survive on dry lands as
Yeah.
Texas, that we're in a drought.
Yeah.
That one hemp seed, we need to realize that the minute we continue to ignore climate change and all these things that are occurring,
Happening.
we need to adapt our lands
That's
for
right.
this. And hemp is a seed that does
That
not
grows.
require a lot of water and could survive and could get clothes, food, health. You could have 3 industries in one farm.
We're not even talking, most people don't know the difference between hemp and cannabis and its medicinal value, but hemp is also very strong in CBD, which is the component in the plant that helps stop the seizures, that helps stop
Exactly.
the tremors in Tourette syndrome, that helps stop the tremors in epileptic disorders, and also helps tremendously with PTSD and sleep management. So hemp has its value as well. I mean, the THC that comes from the cannabis sativa L plant is one thing, but CBD is nothing to play around with either. It's got its medicinal value as well, and that comes from hemp.
So today's broadcast, I just want to say, you know, we are at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
I want to say, you know what? This was on fire. I'm excited because these are the kind of conversations that we must have with candidates and elected officials around the issues that affect communities of color. And that is what Withhold the Vote is about. It's about validating the silence of those that are not participating in the legislative process. We have people sitting on the sidelines that do not feel like their voices are heard, do not feel like we are intentional about addressing their issues. So why the hell would they vote for any of us? So if we want to be the party, the big tent party that we say we're supposed to be, we have to go out and engage with people who we normally would not engage with. And we have to cultivate and nurture those relationships, because these are the people that are going to stick and stay with us for the long term. The Democratic Party, and I think this is the one thing I learned from my very first race all the way up to my third race, is that the Democratic Party is doing it wrong. We're trying to go out and get these moderates that are right in the middle that may or may not vote for us. May vote for us this time, might vote for us the next time. We have to go and build our base. Keep those people that are, you know, those people that are sitting on the sidelines, keep them engaged in this political process, address their issues, be the party, the big tent party that we are supposed to be, and not this party of mess that happened around me this week, all the chatter, when you really didn't understand the strategy and the strategic part of us really addressing the issues that affect communities of color and validating their silence. That's what this is about. And so candidates like Jennifer Cantu, and I'm gonna put her website back up on the screen. Send her something. Send her something. I'm asking you, you know, as a candidate, somebody who knows what it's like to run a grassroots campaign with very little funds. We use our money wisely. Jennifer and Nicole, communities of color, we know how to make out of 15 cents.
That's right.
That's right.
That's
We
right.
know how to take that dollar and we can stretch that dollar and it'll do magic. So please send Jennifer any kind of resource, anything you can do to help her out in Texas. We're going to put m4mmunited.org back up on the screen. Support this organization. We got to get marijuana legislation in this state. We got to be intentional about passing it. I'm going to follow these two ladies. I'm definitely going to bring them back. I'm going to support them in any way that I can. I'm going to be a voice and a resource for helping, because it's about the issues that affect us all. And if it has to come through this community of color for us to get it done, it's going to benefit all of us. And that's what solidarity is all about. That's what I've been preaching the whole time as a candidate, is about building bridges and us working collectively as a community and as a people to make this world a better place for all of us. Ladies, you guys were phenomenal.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. And I'm definitely going to have you back. And I will do this again next Friday, same time at 11 o'clock. Each of these conversations will get more and more interesting. And you know what? For all the people that were talking, I put the call-in number up and just 2 people called in. So it just shows you it's easier to sit behind your computer and throw darts instead of having a conversation where we can mend this divide and build these bridges. So I just thank you, Jennifer.
No problem. Anytime. Thank you for having this platform for us.
Absolutely. And thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tamara. Nice to meet you, Jennifer. Hopefully
nice to meet you, Tamara.
In person. But thanks again, Tamara, for all that you do in this space. We appreciate it.
Awesome. And we're going to do this again next Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Withhold the vote. Let's have these conversations around the issues around communities of color. And I'm inviting candidates to come talk to me. So for those candidates that hadn't talked to me and you running around the issue, the door is open. The conversation is wide open. Let's have these conversations. We have races to win in November. And if you don't talk, and if we don't talk about these issues, be prepared to lose, because guess what's going to happen? People are going to continue to withhold their vote.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good one.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.